Chosen one. As this message begins, Spirit is making one thing clear: it's your time to shine, and the very people who once turned their backs on you can feel it. That's the energy behind the collapse you're sensing, because something in their world is crumbling as yours rises. Right now, someone who once walked away is drowning in a shame they can't outrun. The version of you they expected to break never appeared. Instead, you transformed into someone untouchable, someone powerful, and as this plays out, you'll see exactly why their downfall and your rise were always divinely connected. Think about all those moments when you begged certain people to see you. Remember how you showed up repeatedly. Remember the energy you poured into relationships that seemed to give nothing back. You weren't crazy. You weren't desperate. You were dealing with people standing under a shadow so thick nobody could see clearly. That shadow was part of the empire collapsing now. Comfort in delusion felt normal. Recognition of light standing right in front of them was impossible. That shadow had an expiration date. That darkness had a timer on it. When it lifts, when that building finally comes down, vision becomes clear for the first time in years. Looking at you brings realization of what was available and thrown away. Understanding what was lost arrives with devastating clarity. That realization is going to haunt certain people for the rest of their lives. But before we get to how this ends, you need to understand how you got here. You need to see what's been happening in the shadows. You need to know why everything is about to flip in a way that will leave certain mouths speechless. Someone orchestrated a plan against you. This wasn't random hate. This wasn't spontaneous negativity. Someone sat down and mapped out your destruction like a military campaign. People got involved. Favors were called in. Money was spent. Time and resources were invested into making absolutely certain that you would fall. In one mind it was flawless. Every detail was accounted for. Every angle was covered. Every possible outcome was calculated. Something happened that wasn't planned for, something nobody could have anticipated. Every single attack went right over your head like you weren't even there. Not because you dodged it, not because you fought back. You're operating on a frequency beyond reach now. You're not where anyone thinks you are. Punches are being thrown at a ghost. Fighting is happening against a version of you that doesn't exist. While exhaustion happens in that battle, you're ascending to levels nobody can even perceive. The people hired to destroy you are stopping themselves. Mid-task, mid-scheme, something inside refuses to complete the assignment. Half the plan gets attempted, and then everything just stops. No explanation exists. No understanding comes. Something is blocking completion. So playing both sides becomes the strategy. Serving your enemy's table gets attempted, and then switching to yours, but access isn't allowed anymore. Bridges were burned, choices were made, stuck in the middle becomes the reality. Liability to everyone, useful to no one, trusted by neither side. The consequences are manifesting now. Firing is happening, demotions are occurring, lawsuits are being filed, exposure is coming publicly. The very people who thought employment meant taking you down are facing their own destruction instead. The attack is reversing, the curse is returning to sender, the trap is catching the ones who set it. Something specific was being kept from you, some dream, some stability, some wish fulfillment that was destined to anchor into your reality, regardless of interference. Dibs were assumed on it. Claiming what the universe had already assigned to you was attempted. Greed reached levels of delusion. For some of you watching this, family members are directly involved in this plot. Control was felt as lost, and this was the final attempt, the crescendo, the masterpiece. Spiritual compromise was the goal. Failed. Mental compromise was attempted. Failed. Physical compromise was pursued. Failed. The pattern is clear. Descending down the rungs of the ladder is happening. Desperation is increasing with each failure. The absolute bottom has been reached. Nowhere left to go exists. The well is empty. Screaming into a void is happening, and hearing nothing but echoes of failure bouncing back. God said enough. Taking has reached its limit from you. The well is completely empty. Scraping at dirt is all that remains. Hearing echoes of desperation is the only response. A line exists in the spiritual realm, and hitting it has occurred. Going deeper isn't possible. Taking any more can't happen. Something powerful is about to shift. When rock bottom is reached in terms of what can be taken from you, the launching pad for your greatest ascension becomes activated simultaneously. People are emerging from that collapsing building right now. Not the hired hands, not the family betrayers, the people who were supposed to be your allies, the ones who turned away when things got difficult, the ones who thought staying neutral was possible. Omission is involvement, silence is a choice, inaction is an action. When turning away from you happened, when refusing to stand with you occurred, counting against them in the spiritual ledger took place. Walking away seemed fine in their minds, running to different relationships, different cities, different countries, seemed like forgetting you was possible. But you are unforgettable. Something about your energy stays with people. Fading from memory doesn't happen. Haunting continues. Calling back happens like a siren song that can't be ignored. The people who orchestrated all of this are being exposed now. Everyone around them is seeing the naked truth. This was never about justice or righteousness or protection. This was always about obsession. Getting over you isn't possible for these orchestrators. Moving on can't happen. Letting go is impossible. Stopping focus on you for even one day feels like suffocation. Literally, not metaphorically. A burning sensation exists in certain chests that expands every time letting go gets attempted. Consumption from the inside happens. Control of thoughts takes over. Dictation of actions occurs. And now everyone around them can see it clearly. All that effort invested into bringing you down is having a building collapse on top of it. Standing there helpless is the current state. Watching as the same people who were convinced to walk away from you start walking back toward you. The people who couldn't be fully turned against you but were pushed just far enough to make leaving your circle happen are coming back now. Stopping it is impossible for anyone. The most poetic part is manifesting. The crescendo planned for you is playing out in other lives instead. The script has been flipped. Some people are going to end up in jail. Standing before a judge is going to bring words never spoken in an entire career. After decades on the bench, after seeing thousands of cases, encountering someone with this many charges has never happened. This many varieties of crimes, this level of systematic corruption, an entire network is coming down. A whole web of people who thought being untouchable was permanent because getting away with it for so long seemed to prove immunity. Evidence is stacking up like an avalanche nobody can outrun. The echo of karma is deafening. Sending some of it your direction is being attempted desperately. Weird sensations in your ears might be happening. Strange frequencies, random ringing that comes out of nowhere. That's not reaching you. Those aren't attacks landing. That's hitting the barrier. Your spirit guides are blocking everything. Hearing the sound of attacks bouncing off your divine protection is all you're experiencing. A wall around you now exists that cannot be penetrated. Reaching the bottom of the barrel in terms of what can be taken from you means simultaneously reaching the beginning of your greatest ascension. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. Right now, going through something that can't be explained to anyone around them is happening. Waking up thinking about you occurs. Going to sleep thinking about you happens. This isn't love. This isn't longing in any romantic sense. This is recognition. Finally recognizing what was available and thrown away is destroying peace. Seeing you clearly for the first time is happening, and that clarity is causing devastation. This person thought walking away was leaving someone who needed them. The upper hand seemed possessed. Chasing was expected. Begging to come back was anticipated. Proving yourself worthy of presence seemed inevitable, but none of that happened. You went silent. You disappeared into your restoration. That silence is louder than any words you could have spoken. Checking your energy from a distance is happening now. Looking at your social media without engaging occurs. Asking mutual friends about you in casual conversation happens. Trying not to seem too interested. Driving past places you might be takes place. Listening for your name in every room entered becomes routine. Every time a glimpse of you is caught, every time something good happening in your life is heard about, that shame deepens. Understanding is starting to dawn. You didn't fall apart without this person. Crumbling didn't happen. Becoming bitter and angry and desperate never occurred. You became better. Leveling up in ways nobody can comprehend took place. That reality is hitting like a freight train nobody saw coming. The shame being carried has layers to it. Surface shame of being wrong about you exists. Deeper shame of realizing how badly treatment occurred sits underneath. But the deepest shame of all lives at the core. The shame of knowing that everyone around can see the fumbling that happened. Friends see it. Family sees it. Even strangers who observe can sense something is off about how certain people carry themselves now. Living in a prison of their own making is the current reality for these people. The bars are made of every moment. Pride was chosen over connection. Every time ego was chosen over authenticity. Every time image was chosen over your well-being. Those moments have solidified into a cage. Escape is impossible from. Here's where your power comes in. You're not the one holding the key to that cage. Being their jailer isn't your role. Responsibility for their freedom or their continued imprisonment doesn't belong to you. You simply existed in your truth, and that truth revealed who certain people really were. The cage locked itself. Right now, other people in your past are experiencing something similar. Different degrees of the same shame exist. Different flavors of the same regret are being tasted. These are the people who stayed silent when you needed voices. The ones who believed lies about you without asking your side. The ones who distanced themselves because association with you became inconvenient. Watching is happening now from all of them. What's being seen is causing a collective crisis. The story told to themselves about you isn't matching the reality unfolding before their eyes. Convincing themselves you were the problem happened. You were difficult. You were too much or not enough. You were unstable. You were dramatic. An entire narrative was built to justify abandonment. That narrative is crumbling just like that building in the spiritual realm. Acting like someone who was the problem isn't what you're doing. Behaving like someone unstable isn't happening. Moving like someone who was always destined for exactly where you're going is what's occurring. Reconciling the story told with the evidence being witnessed is impossible for them. Walking back slowly is happening now from people who turned away. Something beautiful about this moment needs your attention. You're not even going to want all of them back. Looking at some of them and feeling absolutely nothing is what's coming. No anger burning in your chest. No resentment clouding your thoughts. Not even satisfaction at their regret. Just pure indifference. You've outgrown the version of yourself that needed their validation to feel worthy. The dormant dreams you stopped talking about because people laughed are waking up. Coming true is happening. Not in some vague future timeline that may or may not happen. Now. Soon. Immediately. The relationships you fought so hard to preserve, the ones you poured everything into trying to save, are being replaced with better ones. People who actually see you without needing a catastrophe to open their eyes. People who recognize your value before you have to prove it. This is not going to be a subtle season in your life. Nothing about what's coming for you is quiet or small or hidden in the shadows. The blessings are going to be loud, obvious, impossible to ignore or explain away. The people who got comfortable hating you, who made it their daily routine, are going to have front row seats to watch it all unfold in vivid detail. Understanding something about this period you've been in is important. A reason exists for why you felt disconnected from people lately. A reason exists for why you've been at peace but not really engaging intimately with anyone. A reason exists for why attraction to people hasn't been happening or being turned on by situations that would have captivated you before isn't occurring. You're not broken. You're not damaged. Losing your ability to connect isn't happening. You're in restoration. You're dormant like a seed underground, gathering everything you need before breaking through the soil into the sunlight. Operating on a different frequency now is your reality. You're not where anyone thinks you are. Fighting the old version of you is still happening on their end. The version that would react emotionally. The version that would engage in drama. The version that would eventually break under pressure. But that version doesn't exist anymore. Evolving past it during your time in the darkness happened. Throwing punches at a ghost is exhausting them. Fighting shadows is all they're doing. receiving opportunities that don't make logical sense based on your current circumstances is coming. Jobs you didn't apply for are going to reach out to you. Connections you didn't seek out are going to find you anyway. Resources are going to appear out of nowhere at exactly the moment you need them. Every single one is going to be precisely what you needed but didn't know how to ask for. People watching from a distance are going to be genuinely confused. How is this happening after everything we did? How are blessings coming? How is this even possible? Trying to rationalize it away is going to happen. Trying to diminish it in their minds will be attempted. Trying to convince themselves that it's temporary or fake or undeserved is the goal. But deep down, in the quiet moments when alone with thoughts, knowing the truth is unavoidable, picking a fight with someone who had divine backing happened. Every weapon formed didn't just fail to prosper, it backfired spectacularly. Living with that knowledge for the rest of their lives is now mandatory. Reaching out is going to be attempted by some. Testing the waters carefully with a casual message, a random like on your social media post, a mutual friend suddenly asking how you're doing. Don't be fooled by these gestures. This isn't genuine care or authentic regret. This is reconnaissance. Seeing if you're still accessible is the mission. Gauging whether worming back into your space now that seeing you rise is happening. Your job is not to let anyone back in. Your job is to maintain the boundaries that your season of restoration built. Understanding this is crucial. You didn't survive everything you survived just to go backwards. You didn't endure all that darkness just to invite it back in through the door with a smile. You didn't grow all these roots just to let someone come dig them up again. The shame being felt right now is appropriate, deserved, the natural consequence of choices finally catching up. While part of you might want to alleviate that shame, to make people feel better, to prove you're the bigger person by absolving them, resisting that urge with everything in you is necessary. Making anyone comfortable with their betrayal doesn't serve anyone, least of all you. Letting certain people sit in that shame is important. Letting them feel the full weight of what was done to you matters. Not because you're cruel or vindictive, not because you want revenge. That's the only way some people learn. That's the only way some people grow. That's the only way some people develop the capacity to treat the next person better. Whether learning from this happens or not isn't your responsibility anymore. That ship has sailed. Your responsibility now is to step fully into this next chapter, to claim every blessing coming your way without apology or hesitation, to shine so bright that people need sunglasses just to look at your social media feed, to live so well that it becomes undeniable proof of divine favor operating in your life. This is your time, not because you're lucky, not because the stars randomly aligned in your favor, not because you manifested it with vision boards. You survived things that were specifically designed to destroy you, and you came out stronger on the other side. You maintained your integrity when it would have been so much easier to become bitter and twisted. You kept your heart soft even when the world gave you every valid reason to harden it into stone. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. The universe doesn't reward people randomly. It rewards those who stay aligned with their purpose, even when that alignment costs them everything thought to be needed. You paid that cost in full. You walked through the fire without flinching. You sat in the darkness without losing hope. You endured the silence without filling it with bitterness. Now it's collection time. Now it's harvest season. Now it's time for the universe to pay you back with interest. Every tear you cried in private is being counted. Every prayer you whispered in desperation is being answered. Every moment you wanted to give up but didn't is being rewarded. This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't manifestation talk. This isn't positive vibes only. This is spiritual law. This is divine order. This is the way the universe works when you're operating in your purpose. What you sow in suffering, you reap in glory. What you plant in darkness, you harvest in light. The glory coming for you isn't just going to benefit you personally. Inspiration is going to happen for everyone watching from the sidelines. The people who stayed loyal through everything are going to be blessed just for being in proximity to your energy. The people who believed in you when it wasn't popular are going to see their faith rewarded tangibly. The people who covered you in prayer when you didn't even know you needed it are going to witness the proof that their prayers mattered, that mountains moved on your behalf. But the people who fought against you are going to become cautionary tales, living examples of what happens when coming against someone who belongs to the divine occurs. Not because you're vindictive enough to curse anyone, not because you wished this on anyone. The universe has a way of balancing scales that have been tipped too far in the wrong direction for too long. Preparing yourself mentally and emotionally for what's coming is necessary. When blessings start flowing without breaks, being overwhelming can actually happen. Your mind might struggle to process it. Finding yourself questioning whether you deserve it might occur. Wondering if it's real might happen. Wondering if it's going to last or disappear like a dream could surface. Shutting down those thoughts the moment appearance happens is essential. You deserve every single good thing coming your way. You earned it through survival. You earned it through perseverance. You earned it through maintaining your character when justifying becoming a monster could have happened. You earned it by being exactly who you were called to be, even when no one was watching or applauding. The version of you about to emerge from this chrysalis is going to shock people, not because changing who you are fundamentally at your core happened. Shedding all the weight that was dimming your light is what occurred. Releasing all the people who were draining your energy like vampires took place. Letting go of all the situations that were beneath your calling happened. What's left is pure potential, unfiltered purpose, undiluted power. When that version of you steps into the room, people are going to feel it before you even open your mouth to speak. Sensing that something is different about you is going to happen. Operating from a place nobody can quite identify but definitely can't ignore is going to be obvious. Some people are going to be drawn to it like moths to a flame, wanting to be near you, to learn from you, to absorb some of that energy for themselves is going to happen. Being very discerning about who you allow access to this new version of you is going to be necessary. Not everyone who's attracted to your light deserves to benefit from it. Not everyone who wants proximity has earned the privilege. Others are going to be actively repelled by your energy. Your presence is going to make them deeply uncomfortable because reminding them of everything not being done with their own lives is going to happen. That's perfectly okay. Let them be uncomfortable. Let your existence be a mirror that shows them their own stagnation. Maybe motivating them to change will happen. Maybe it won't. Either way, being your concern or your responsibility to manage their feelings about your success isn't the case. Your only concern moving forward is continuing to walk in your purpose, continuing to honor the divine assignment you've been given, continuing to shine so bright that even haters have to acknowledge something undeniably special is happening in your life. Acknowledgement will happen eventually. Maybe not publicly where everyone can see, maybe not directly to your face, but in private moments when alone with thoughts and lying to themselves isn't possible anymore, knowing is going to occur. Replaying every moment of having a chance to support you and choosing not to is going to happen. Every opportunity to celebrate you and choose to criticize instead will be remembered. Every chance to stand with you and choose to stand against you will be recalled. That knowledge is going to eat away. Keeping people up at night is going to happen. Making them question every decision made regarding you is going to occur. Not because cursing them with guilt happened, not because wishing this regret on anyone took place. Truth has a way of revealing itself eventually, and the truth is that fumbling is one of the best connections ever possible to have occurred. Watching you from a distance is happening right now. Building everything you were told wasn't possible is what's being observed. Seeing you thriving in spaces you were told you'd never access is occurring. Witnessing you becoming exactly who you said you'd become, despite every obstacle placed in the path, is taking place. The most painful part for certain people is going to be knowing that being part of this journey was possible. Celebrating with you instead of watching jealously from the sidelines could have happened. Growing alongside you instead of shrinking in your expanding shadow was an option. Choices were made, votes were cast, sides were picked. Living with those choices for the rest of certain lives is now mandatory. While you get to live in the fullness of everything you were promised, everything you were prepared for during those dark nights, everything you were destined to experience. People emerging from the rubble right now, the ones starting to see clearly for the first time in years, are going to approach you with apologies, with lengthy explanations, with elaborate justifications for why doing what was done seemed necessary. A choice is going to be yours to make in those moments. Accepting apologies with grace and still maintaining healthy distance is possible. Acknowledging regret without reopening doors that were slammed in your face can happen. Forgiving people for your own peace without forgetting what capability exists for doing harm when pressure is on is an option. Forgiveness doesn't mean giving someone access to hurt you again. Pretending it never happened isn't required. Releasing the hold that betrayal has on your heart, so moving forward freely can happen, is what it means. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. Some chapters are meant to stay closed. Some people are meant to remain in your past as lessons rather than returning to your present as friends. That's completely okay. Owing anyone a second chance just because finally realizing what was lost happened isn't true. Owing anyone access just because being sorry now is the case doesn't exist. What you owe yourself is protection of your peace, preservation of your energy, prioritization of your purpose above all else. If that means walking forward without certain people who used to be in your circle, then that's exactly what you should do without guilt. The best version of your life, the one you've been praying for and working toward and believing in, despite all evidence to the contrary, that version doesn't include people who had to watch you almost break before deciding you were worth their time. That version doesn't include people who only saw your value after you no longer needed them. That version includes people who saw your value when you were at your absolute lowest. People who stayed when staying was difficult and unrewarding. People who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Those are the people who deserve to celebrate this next level with you. Everyone else gets to watch from wherever landing happened when jumping ship occurred. That's not cruelty on your part. That's consequences. That's the natural order of things being restored. That's divine justice playing out exactly as it should. When seeing people watching happens, when feeling eyes on you from a distance occurs, when sensing regret hanging in the atmosphere like humidity takes place, don't shrink yourself. Don't dim your light to make anyone more comfortable with choices made. Don't downplay blessings to avoid seeming boastful. Shine anyway, glow anyway, rise anyway. Your elevation isn't about anyone else. It never was about anyone else. Stepping into the fullness of who you were created to be before the world told you to be smaller is what this is about. Claiming the inheritance that was set aside with your name on it before you were born is the purpose. Proving that divine timing is real and divine protection is absolute and divine justice always comes through is what's happening. This is your moment. This is your season. This is your time to shine brighter than you ever have before. The fact that certain people know it, the fact that discomfort is happening for them, the fact that some feel deeply ashamed confirms something. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Walking in your purpose is what's happening. The universe is aligning everything in your favor is the evidence. Keep walking forward with your head held high. Keep your heart open to what's coming next. Keep your faith strong even when seeing the full picture isn't possible yet. What's coming is better than anything you lost. What's coming is bigger than anything anyone tried to take. What's coming is proof that you were never fighting this battle alone. The rubble certain people are crawling from is the same rubble you walked from completely untouched. The difference is clear. You had divine covering. Others had their own schemes. You trusted the process. Others trusted their plans. You surrendered to purpose. Others surrendered to ego. You believed in something bigger. Others believed in themselves. Now the evidence of who made the right choice is undeniable. Now the proof of who was really protected is unavoidable. Now the truth of who was always meant to win is inescapable. You were, you are, you will be, chosen, protected, elevated, blessed, unstoppable, everything unfolding right now. All of this chaos and restoration and vindication is just the beginning of a story that's going to inspire generations of people who come after you. Step into it fully without hesitation, own it completely without apology, embrace it without second-guessing yourself. This isn't just your time to shine for your own benefit. This is your time to illuminate the path for everyone who's been watching from the shadows, wondering if survival is possible after what you survived, wondering if rising is real after falling as far as you fell, wondering if divine justice exists or if it's just something people say to feel better. Through your life, through your testimony, through your undeniable elevation, answers are being provided. Yes, survival is possible. Yes, rising is real. Yes, divine justice exists. It's happening right now in real time. If it happened for you, it can happen for anyone else too. That's the power of a chosen one stepping into their season. Changing just your life in isolation doesn't happen. Shifting the entire atmosphere for everyone paying attention is what occurs. And trust me, everyone is paying attention now, especially the ones who thought they'd never see this day come. Welcome to your season of vindication. Welcome to your era of elevation. Welcome to the beginning of everything certain people said would never happen. It's your time to shine. Deep down, even through all the shame and regret certain people carry, knowing this is your time is unavoidable. Stopping watching can't happen. Looking away is impossible. You are unforgettable. What you're about to become will haunt certain people forever. This is where everything changes. This is where the story flips. This is where you walk out of that rubble and into your destiny. Untouched, unbroken, unstoppable. This is your time. Everyone who turned away is being forced to watch you take it. Knowing it's your time is happening for them. Feeling it is unavoidable. Seeing it is constant. That knowing is the heaviest shame certain people have. Chosen one before anything else, understand this. Either they confess or the police will. Because the truth behind what was plotted against you is too big to stay buried. Someone is cracking under pressure. The guilt, the fear, the surveillance, the unexpected inquiries, it's all tightening around them like a vice. But here's the part you must not overlook. You didn't survive by chance. You were being guided, shielded, positioned. Now the light hits the web, and every hidden plot is exposed. Let me tell you who's been working against you. Because this isn't about strangers or random haters. These are people who know you. People who've been close enough to study your patterns, close enough to identify vulnerabilities, close enough to plan your destruction with precision. Some share your blood. Family members who should have protected you became predators instead. Others share your history. Former partners who couldn't handle your evolution. Associates who resented your light. And in the darkness, these people found each other, formed an alliance built on mutual hatred of everything you represent. There's someone at the center of this who operates with cold calculation, completely devoid of conscience.
To the heavens.
This person doesn't believe in anything beyond
in
what can be controlled
light.
or manipulated or profited from. Spirituality seems like foolishness. Divine intervention feels like a joke. Intelligence and careful planning appear to be enough to get away with anything. And the planning has been extensive. Watching you, learning your routines, mapping your movements, looking for the perfect moment to strike. Then there's another person operating differently, where one approaches with blunt force, the other uses subtle manipulation. Masks and roles come naturally. Playing victim while being villain is an art form here. This person has been using corrupted spiritual practices against you, sending lustful energy to cloud your judgment, deploying monitor spirits to watch you in private moments, building energetic attachments designed to create confusion in your clarity, reporting your emotional state, your vulnerabilities, your moments of weakness, so attacks could be coordinated. These people have been meeting in secret, sharing information, comparing notes on your habits, discussing the best ways to isolate you, to weaken you, to set you up for whatever final move was planned. And there was a final move. This wasn't just about making your life difficult. This was about ending it, permanently. The goal was to have you gone in a way that looked natural or accidental or self-inflicted, attending your funeral and collecting rewards while hiding blood on their hands. Money was involved, either inheritance expected when you were gone, or insurance to be collected, or assets to be claimed. The value of your death was calculated, and the decision was made that you were worth more absent than alive. That's how far this goes. That's how dark this gets. Methods were researched, possibilities were discussed, approaches that would avoid suspicion were planned, and genuine belief in success was maintained. Your enemies thought you were still who you used to be. The entire strategy was based on an outdated version of you. No account was taken of the transformation you've been undergoing, the healing you've been doing, the frequency you've been raising. Attacks were designed for someone operating at a lower vibration, and those attacks hit a wall. You've been processing darkness faster than anyone can send it, transmuting negativity before it takes root. Your spiritual immune system has been training for exactly this fight, and every test made it stronger. The plan had layers, sophistication. First came isolation. You needed to be separated from anyone who would notice if something was off, anyone who'd ask questions, anyone who'd investigate. So energy got sent designed to make you antisocial, to make you withdraw, to make you feel like you didn't fit anywhere. The goal was for your loneliness to look like your choice instead of manipulation. You were supposed to be the injured animal that falls behind the herd, the weakest one that gets picked off while everyone else moves forward. But isolation alone wasn't enough. Weakening was necessary. Vibration needed to be lowered. Operating from confusion and desperation instead of clarity and power became the target. So escalation happened. Spiritual attacks designed to corrupt your moral compass, to make behaviors that violated your values suddenly seem acceptable, to make substances you'd never touch suddenly seem appealing, to make choices that would derail your destiny suddenly seem reasonable. The attempt was to fundamentally rewire who you are, because as long as you stayed connected to Source, stayed aligned with your true nature, stayed operating from your highest self, you'd be too strong to touch. Think about nature documentaries, how predators watch herds, how the weakest target gets identified. The one limping, the one separated by just a small distance, that one gets taken down while the rest survive. That's exactly what was being engineered. A scenario where you'd be isolated and weakened and vulnerable, where no one would be close enough to intervene, where the attack could happen without witnesses, where your death could be explained away without suspicion. And it gets darker, much darker. This wasn't theoretical. This wasn't just bad energy or negative intentions. There was actual planning for physical harm, for removing you from this earth in ways that would look like accident or tragedy or self-inflicted choice. Methods were discussed, approaches were researched, opportunities were waited for, and all of this was happening while you were just living your life, completely unaware that people you once trusted were literally plotting murder. But something started to shift. The battlefield was changing in ways nobody could control. You kept following those intuitive hits, those sudden urges to cleanse your space, to reorganize everything, to throw things away, to burn sage, to pray protection over your home. Each time you followed that guidance, you were clearing away energetic work, dismantling spiritual constructions, breaking attachments, closing doors that needed to stay open for the scheme to work. You were winning a war you didn't even know you were fighting. If this message activated your knowing, hype this video to connect with more chosen ones on this journey. While all of this was happening in the physical realm, there was a war being fought in the spiritual realm. A war you couldn't see with natural eyes but could feel in your spirit. You've been waking up exhausted some mornings despite sleeping through the night, because you've been fighting battles in other dimensions, working in realms where your spirit receives upgrades and teachings your conscious mind can't fully comprehend. Your dreams have been showing you symbolic warnings. Your spiritual body has been defending territories you didn't know existed. Guardian forces have been intercepting the monitor spirits that got sent, casting out the entities that got deployed, deflecting the curses that got spoken. Every single attack hit your spiritual covering and bounced back to the sender, amplified. The spells that got cast started backfiring. The rituals that got performed started reversing. The dark magic that got directed at your life started returning multiplied. That's spiritual law. What you send out comes back. And when you send darkness towards someone under divine protection, it doesn't just fail, it becomes your own destruction. Your enemies started experiencing the very things intended for you. Restlessness, isolation, fear, confusion, not because you attacked back, but because that's how the universe balances itself. Destruction got planted. Now consequences are being harvested. Every meditation you've done strengthened your spiritual armor. Every prayer offered reinforced your divine connection. Every moment spent in stillness upgraded your discernment. Every boundary set fortified your energy field. Every toxic person removed cleared space for protection to operate more effectively. Addictive energy got sent designed to make you crave substances that would compromise your judgment. Your body rejected it. Confusion got sent to cloud your path. Your clarity cut through it like a blade. Isolation got sent to separate you from support. You discovered you're actually more powerful in solitude. Fear got sent to make you operate from panic. Your faith dissolved it on contact. Every single attack launched either bounced back or got neutralized, and panic started setting in because something was protecting you that couldn't be seen, measured, or understood. Your enemies are panicking now, absolutely terrified, because the consequences of what's been done are catching up faster than anticipated. More time was expected, better track covering was assumed, secrets were believed safe, wrong on every count. Something has shifted. There's been a change in the atmosphere, an acceleration of divine justice that can be felt but can't be explained. What was thought buried is being dug up. What was thought hidden is being exposed. What was thought forgotten is being remembered. One person can't sleep anymore, tossing and turning every night, getting up to pace, unable to find rest because fear is eating from the inside. Not guilt about what was done to you, fear about getting caught, fear about consequences that can be seen coming but can't be escaped. Restlessness like someone on the run, even though no official charges have been filed yet. Moving from place to place, unable to settle. Conscience is chasing, even if law hasn't caught up yet.
We ascend
the other
to the
person
heavens,
is trying to maintain appearances,
bathed
trying to act
in eternal
normal,
light,
convincing everyone, including themselves, that everything's fine. But the mask is slipping. The performance is getting harder to maintain. Friends are noticing something's off. Family members are asking if everything's okay. Co-workers are picking up on strange energy. The facade is cracking under pressure, and holding it together is becoming impossible. Both know the confession is coming, just don't know how, or when, or through what channel. Don't know if one is going to break first and tell everything. Don't know if evidence is going to surface that exposes both. Don't know if someone else involved is going to turn informant to save themselves. Just know it's coming, and that not knowing is worse than knowing, because preparation is impossible. Controlling the narrative is impossible. The alliance between them is crumbling. When criminals feel pressure, protecting each other stops and protecting self starts. Looking for someone to blame, someone to throw under the bus, someone to sacrifice for personal salvation. Neither wants to take full responsibility for what was planned together, turning on each other, and that fracture is creating openings for truth to pour through. Here's what your enemies don't know. Or maybe suspicions exist, but desperate hopes remain that it's not true. The authorities are involved. Not just spiritual authorities, physical authorities, law enforcement, government agencies, people with badges and legal power, and the ability to bring charges and build cases and put criminals behind bars. Someone somewhere picked up on what was being done, and now surveillance is active. Phone lines are being monitored. Not yours, chosen one. Theirs. The people who plotted against you are the ones under surveillance. Calls are being recorded, messages are being read, movements are being tracked. Because somewhere along the way, the scheme got flagged in the system. Maybe a pattern in communications triggered an alert. Maybe a financial transaction made no logical sense. Maybe a tip came from someone who overheard something they shouldn't have. However it happened, someone with authority knows something is deeply wrong. Evidence is being collected methodically. Witnesses are being identified and interviewed. Timelines are being established with precision. Cases are being prepared with the kind of thoroughness that leaves no room for reasonable doubt. Not for minor infractions either, for serious charges, the kind that carry significant prison sentences. Conspiracy, attempted murder, fraud, financial exploitation, whatever specific laws were violated in the attempt to harm you, those are the charges being prepared. Digital forensics teams have been thorough. Messages that were thought permanently deleted have been recovered. Conversations discussing your routines, your schedule, your vulnerabilities, ways to make your death look accidental, who would benefit financially, how to avoid suspicion, all of it stored somewhere in the cloud, or on a server, or in a backup system nobody knew existed. Metadata from photos reveals when and where pictures of you were taken. GPS data shows proximity to locations you frequented, at times when claims of being elsewhere were made. Search histories paint a damning picture of premeditation and intent. Financial investigators uncovered patterns that tell their own story. Insurance policies taken out with you as the named insured. Beneficiary designations changed without your knowledge or with forged signatures. Applications filled out claiming relationships that gave insurable interest. Loans taken with the expectation of sudden repayment. Credit cards maxed out in anticipation of a windfall. Conversations with financial planners about inheritance law. Research into how quickly insurance companies pay death claims. All of it documented, all of it traceable, all of it proof of motive. Communication records revealed the conspiracy in stunning detail. Phone calls between conspirators at strategic times, right before and after significant events in your life. Calls that lasted extended periods when claims of barely speaking were made later. Text messages supposedly deleted but recovered from carrier databases. Encrypted messaging apps that weren't as secure as assumed. Voicemails that captured planning discussions, all of it creating a timeline that shows coordination, premeditation, intent to harm. Witness interviews have been revealing too. People who were present during conversations where plans were discussed, co-workers who overheard phone calls, friends who were told things in confidence, family members who were uncomfortable with what was witnessed but didn't know what to do about it. All of them giving statements now. All of them providing pieces of the puzzle, all of them helping investigators understand the full scope of what was planned. Some witnesses didn't even realize what information was important until investigators asked specific questions. Physical surveillance has captured behaviors that contradict innocent narratives being maintained. Video footage from security cameras showing presence in locations that were claimed never to have been visited. License plate readers tracking vehicles to places connected to planning. ATM cameras showing cash withdrawals for transactions meant to be kept off the record. Store security footage showing purchases of items with no legitimate purpose but making perfect sense if planning what investigators suspect. All of it contradicting alibis. All of it creating evidence that can't be explained away. The authorities even consulted with experts. Forensic psychologists analyzed behavioral patterns. Financial experts explained complex transactions. Technology specialists broke down digital communications. Each expert added another layer of understanding to the case. Each consultation strengthened the prosecution's ability to prove not just what happened, but why. Not just the actions, but the intent behind them. And intent is everything in cases like this. Intent is what separates unfortunate accidents from premeditated attempts to end your life. What makes this investigation particularly powerful is the scope. Authorities aren't just looking at what was tried against you. The examination extends to entire histories, other people who might have been harmed, other schemes that might have been run, other victims who never reported because believing anyone would listen seemed impossible. Pattern evidence shows this wasn't a one-time thing. This is who these people are, what these people do, how these people operate, when thinking no one's watching, and now everyone's watching. Now everything's being documented. Now patterns are being established that will make conviction almost certain. The legal system doesn't play games with conspiracy to commit murder. The charges being prepared carry serious time, not minimal sentences with probation, not slaps on the wrist with community service, actual prison time measured in substantial periods, years behind bars, decades potentially. Especially when financial motive is proven, when premeditation is documented, when coordination between multiple people is established. The courts take these cases extremely seriously because the intent was to take a life, your life. When arrests happen, and arrests are coming, the process will be thorough. Early morning raids are possible, multiple officers, search warrants, seizure of electronic devices, confiscation of financial records, everything needed to ensure evidence is preserved. Your enemies will be read their rights, taken into custody, processed through the system, photographed, fingerprinted, placed in holding cells while awaiting bail hearings. And during those hearings, prosecutors will argue that people who plotted murder are flight risks, that releasing them poses danger to you and potentially others. Bail might be denied entirely, or set so high that coming up with the amount becomes impossible. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. The legal process will unfold methodically. Arraignments where charges are formally read. Plea negotiations where defense attorneys realize the evidence is overwhelming and recommend accepting deals, or trials where juries hear every detail of what was planned, where prosecutors present timelines, where expert witnesses explain findings, where you might be called to testify about your relationship with these people, about interactions you had, about behaviors you noticed, about fears you experienced. Your voice gets heard in this process. Your truth gets validated in the most official way possible. Defense attorneys will try various strategies, claiming mental health issues, suggesting substance abuse problems, arguing that talk about harming you was never serious, attempting to paint you as somehow deserving of animosity, trying to create reasonable doubt where none exists. But the evidence is too strong, the documentation too thorough, the patterns too clear. Juries won't be fooled by manipulation tactics that might have worked on individuals. The collective wisdom of people hearing facts tends to cut through deception. Sentencing hearings will be significant moments. This is where consequences become concrete, where judges read aloud the charges, where victim impact statements can be delivered, where you can speak directly about how this has affected your life, your sense of safety, your ability to trust, your mental and emotional well-being. And judges listen to victim impact statements. Take them seriously. Consider them when determining appropriate punishment within sentencing guidelines. Your pain matters in this process. Your trauma is acknowledged. Your suffering is validated. Prison time is just the beginning of consequences. Criminal records follow people forever. Background checks reveal convictions for conspiracy to commit murder. Employment becomes nearly impossible in many fields. Housing applications get denied. Professional licenses get revoked. Social standing gets destroyed. Relationships with family and friends who stood by them might crumble under the weight of truth. Everything built on deception collapses when light exposes foundation cracks. The life known before arrest will never be recovered. The reputation enjoyed before exposure will never be restored. Civil lawsuits might follow criminal convictions. You might have grounds to sue for emotional distress, for therapy costs, for lost opportunities if their actions affected your work or education, for punitive damages meant to punish particularly malicious behavior. Even if you choose not to pursue civil cases, government might seize assets as proceeds from criminal activity, especially if any financial fraud was involved. Homes might be lost, vehicles might be taken, bank accounts might be frozen, investments might be liquidated. Everything thought protected by getting rid of you might end up forfeited to the state instead. There will be a specific moment when everything changes, when the confession happens, or when law enforcement makes contact, or when the first arrest gets made. That moment will feel surreal, like watching a movie about someone else's life, like observing from outside your body. The thing you've been sensing, the danger you've been feeling, the conspiracy you've been suspecting, it all becomes undeniably real in that moment, and that moment will hit differently than you expect. Part of you will feel vindicated. Finally, proof that your intuition was accurate, that your gut feelings were legitimate warnings, that your decision to distance yourself was wisdom, that protective instinct that made you cleanse your space and set boundaries, and remove toxic people, all of it confirmed as necessary. You weren't overreacting, you weren't paranoid, you weren't dramatic, you were picking up on real threat and responding appropriately. That validation matters. Let yourself feel satisfaction in knowing you were right. Part of you will feel grief, because even when people show themselves to be capable of terrible things, part of you remembers who you thought these people were. Memories of better times will surface, moments when you trusted them, believed in them, cared about them, and grieving the death of those relationships is necessary. Not grieving who these people actually are, but grieving who you thought they were, who you hoped they were, who you needed them to be. That version died, that illusion shattered, and mourning what was lost, even if what was lost was never real, is part of healing. Part of you will feel anger, righteous rage at betrayal, at violation of trust, at the audacity of people you cared about, deciding your life was worth less than their financial gain, at time wasted on relationships with people capable of such darkness, at energy invested in caring about people who were simultaneously plotting your death. That anger is valid, that fury is justified. Let yourself feel it fully, express it safely, use it as fuel for your healing journey, but don't let it consume you. Don't let it become the defining feature of your next chapter. Part of you will feel fear, retroactive terror about what could have happened, about how close danger came, about moments when you were vulnerable and didn't know threats were active, about times when you trusted people who were simultaneously scheming against you. That fear is normal. That anxiety is expected. Your nervous system is processing the reality of genuine threat. Give yourself space to feel scared, to acknowledge that you survived something that could have gone very differently, to honor the protection that kept you alive. And part of you, the strongest part, the warrior part, the chosen one part, will feel power, unshakable knowing that you're exactly who you've always suspected you were. Protected by forces beyond human understanding, connected to source in ways that literally kept you alive, operating with intuition so sharp it steered you away from danger you couldn't consciously see. This experience isn't breaking you, it's revealing the depth of your strength, the power of your connection, the reality of your protection, and that power is what you carry forward. The moment is here, the confession is coming. You're about to get the truth delivered in one of two ways, and either way it's going to hit hard even though you already suspected most of it. Either one person breaks under pressure and tells you everything first, trying to control the narrative before authorities do, or law enforcement shows up with official information as part of their investigation. Either way, confirmation is coming, validation is arriving, proof is about to land that every intuitive hit you had was accurate. If the confession comes directly, understand the motivation clearly. No conscience suddenly grew, no care about your healing or closure exists. The confession happens because terror exists, because walls are closing in, and one last manipulation is being attempted. The hope is that if you hear it first, if it's framed a certain way, maybe you'll show mercy, maybe you'll feel sympathy, maybe you'll actually protect someone from consequences. Attempts will be made to minimize what was done, making it sound less serious than it was, claims that nobody would have actually gone through with it, saying anger or confusion or going through something caused temporary insanity. Attempts will be made to blame you, saying you drove someone to it, claiming you deserved it because of something you did or didn't do, playing victim, crying about trauma, talking about pain, trying to make you feel sorry for someone instead of holding accountability for plotting your death. Don't fall for any of it. Don't let manipulation work even in confession mode, because people who could scheme to end your life are not people who suddenly become trustworthy because corners were reached. If anything, danger increases, desperation increases, willingness to say or do whatever it takes to save themselves increases. Even confession is a weapon being used, still trying to control you, still trying to benefit from your compassion, still trying to turn your light toward darkness. If the confession comes from authorities, that's different. That's official. That's documented evidence being shared with you as part of an active investigation. You'll be told what's known, what's been uncovered through surveillance and investigation, what can be proven with documentation. Cooperation will probably be needed. Your testimony, your statement about relationships with these people, questions that might seem irrelevant but are actually building cases. Details might get shared that shock you, or confirm suspicions you've been carrying, or reveal layers you didn't even know existed. Either way, the truth arrives. Intense emotions are going to come up. Anger that it went this far, that people you cared about could be capable of something this dark. Sadness that trust was betrayed in the deepest way possible. Fear about what might have happened if things had gone differently, if your intuition hadn't been so sharp, if your protection hadn't been so thorough, if divine intervention hadn't orchestrated your survival. All those feelings are valid. All those reactions are normal. Let yourself feel them without judgment. You hold all the power, not them, not anymore. So much energy got spent plotting to take your power, to end your life, to remove your light from the world, and in doing so, something got given to you that can never be taken back. Absolute moral authority, unquestionable victim status, the legal and spiritual high ground, and the gift of seeing people for exactly who everyone is, without any illusions remaining. You don't have to wonder anymore if you were wrong about anyone. You don't have to question your judgment. You don't have to give benefit of doubt. You have proof now, documented, investigated, legally verified proof that your intuition was right all along, that the red flags you saw were real, that the danger you sensed was legitimate, that the bad feeling you had was your spiritual protection system accurately detecting threat. You were never paranoid, never dramatic, never overreacting. You were discerning, aware, connected to truth. This validation is powerful medicine. It heals the part of you that second-guessed yourself, the part that wondered if you were being too harsh or too suspicious or too unforgiving, the part that got trained to doubt your own perceptions, that gaslighting that happened, making you question your reality. It's over now. You have evidence that your reality was accurate, your perceptions were sharp, your boundaries were necessary, your distance was wisdom. But here's something important about closure that you need to hear. Closure doesn't come from their confession. It doesn't come from apology. It doesn't come from punishment. Real closure comes from you deciding that you're complete with this chapter, that you've extracted every lesson, processed every emotion, healed every wound, and you're ready to close the door on this experience and walk forward into your future. Now we get to the most important part. What you do with this information, how you respond to vindication, how you carry yourself now that truth is confirmed, because this is where you demonstrate that you're not just a survivor, you're a warrior. You're not just protected, you're powerful. You're not just chosen, you're ready to dominate the next chapter of your life. First principle of warrior consciousness: you don't gloat, you don't celebrate downfall publicly, you don't need to post about it, you don't need to tell everyone what happened, you don't need public validation, because you have divine vindication. That's infinitely more valuable. Let the legal system handle the public record. Let karma handle the spiritual balancing. You focus on your elevation, your expansion, your execution of the destiny you were protected to fulfill. Second principle, you don't seek additional revenge. Justice is already being served through proper channels. Karma is already operating according to spiritual law. You don't need to add to it. In fact, if you do, you risk creating your own karmic debt. You risk lowering your vibration to match others. You risk becoming what you fought against. Stay in your power. Stay above the warfare. Let divine justice handle what divine justice handles best. Third principle, you do forgive. Not for anyone else's benefit, but for yours. Forgiveness doesn't mean what was done was acceptable. Doesn't mean you reconcile or trust again. Doesn't mean full consequences shouldn't be faced. Forgiveness means you release the energetic tie. You cut the cord. You refuse to carry hatred and bitterness and anger into your next chapter. You choose your peace over anyone else's punishment. You prioritize your freedom over anyone else's suffering. Fourth principle, you do heal completely. You process everything you've been through. Feel everything you need to feel. Grieve what was lost. Celebrate what was preserved. Thank the forces that protected you. Honor the journey that brought you here. Get professional help if you need it. Do ceremony. Create art. Journal. Meditate. Pray. However you integrate trauma and extract wisdom, do that thoroughly. Don't skip steps. Don't rush past the healing to get to the next thing. Fifth principle, you do grow exponentially. Let this experience sharpen your discernment about people, strengthen your boundaries to fortress level, deepen your spiritual practices beyond what you thought possible, expand your understanding of protection and warfare, and divine justice. You survived something that should have destroyed you. That survival gives you authority, anointing, wisdom, power. Own it fully. Step into the upgraded version of yourself without hesitation or false humility. Final principle, you do step into your destiny with absolute dominance. No more playing small. No more holding back because you're worried about who might come against you. You just survived people plotting your actual murder. What else could possibly intimidate you now? You have proof that you're covered, that you're protected, that no weapon formed against you can prosper. Walk in that confidence, live in that assurance, operate from that authority, dominate your field, excel in your purpose, execute your calling, without apology or limitation. You weren't preserved just to live a small, safe, comfortable life. You weren't kept alive just to avoid danger. You were protected because you have a purpose that darkness desperately wanted to prevent. You carry something the world needs. You're meant to do something that threatens the kingdom of shadows. Your enemies weren't attacking you randomly. Attacks came strategically. Because your light disrupts operations, because your rise signals fall, because your purpose interferes with plans. You're a chosen one, not as spiritual language to make you feel special, as literal reality. You were selected before you were born for a specific assignment, appointed to a particular purpose, anointed for a unique calling, and that choosing comes with protection, with backing, with resources, with support, with divine favor that confuses your enemies and opens impossible doors and orchestrates miraculous encounters and creates opportunities that couldn't happen through human effort alone. The work you're meant to do might be public or private, large-scale or intimate, famous or hidden. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is that it's yours, that it's important, that it requires you to be alive and healthy and whole and connected to Source. That's why the protection was so thorough, why schemes failed so completely, why you're still here despite everything that got tried. Not by luck, not by chance, but by divine design, by intentional orchestration, by decree from forces that govern reality itself. The confession came, either directly or through law enforcement. Either way, you got confirmation, validation, proof. Let it strengthen you instead of breaking you. Let it deepen your faith instead of creating fear. Let it propel you forward instead of holding you back. Because you survived for a reason. You were protected for a purpose. You were preserved for a destiny that's bigger than this moment, bigger than these enemies, bigger than this warfare, bigger than anything you've experienced so far. Stand firm in your power. Your vindication is complete. Your protection is proven. Your enemies are exposed. Your justice is served. Your destiny is waiting. And everything you walked through prepared you for everything you're walking into. The battle is over. The war is won. The war is won. The next chapter is beginning, and it's going to be more powerful, more impactful, more fulfilling than anything that came before. Because you're not just a survivor now, you're a warrior. You're not just protected now, you're positioned. You're not just chosen now, you're ready. Ready for the fullness of what you were born to be and do and become. Ready to dominate the destiny that no scheme could stop, no plot could derail, no enemy could destroy. You made it, chosen one. Now watch what happens